On this channel, we've traditionally looked at gaming monitors, but today we're switching it up and checking out a 4K office-oriented monitor from Dell, the UltraSharp U2720Q. Hi, I'm Brandon, a test developer at Ratings.com, where we help people find the best products for their needs. The Dell UltraSharp boasts some pretty impressive specs, such as 4K and HDR, and it even has a few tricks up its sleeve. In this video, we'll put it to the test and see if it can live up to these claims. We'll check out the design, inputs, picture quality, and motion handling of this monitor to see if it deserves a spot in your work setup. If you'd like to skip straight to our test results, then see the links in the description below. Before we begin, it's important to note that there are other variations of this monitor that offer slightly different feature sets. Be careful not to confuse this one with the UP2720Q, which is a much more expensive model and comes with a built-in colorimeter. There's also a model ending with an M. It's the same as this one, but comes with an HDMI cable instead of a DisplayPort cable. Let's start with the design. The design of the Dell UltraSharp is simple and professional and will blend well in any office environment. It has a soft gray color all around with some matte black accents that give it a fairly minimalist look. The bezels are quite thin, and the stand has a small flat base and a slim profile, so it's sure not to take up any precious desk space. The monitor is entirely made of plastic, but the build quality is good. There are no obvious issues with the construction, and the stand supports the monitor well. The stand also features a circular cutout to assist with cable management. As expected with Dell monitors, the ergonomics are superb. It has great height adjustment, good swivel and tilt range, and the ability to rotate in either direction. Paired with its slim bezels, this would be an excellent choice for multi-monitor setups. Adding to this, it also has a VESA 100 by 100 mount, so you can attach it to any number of third-party stands. Now let's take a look at the inputs. The input selection of the Dell is great. It should have everything an office professional is looking for. It has a DisplayPort and HDMI, an audio line out, 4 USB downstream ports, one of which is USB Type-C, and lastly, a USB Type-C upstream port. This isn't just any USB-C port though, as it offers power delivery up to 90 watts as well as video and data transmission. This makes it an excellent all-in-one solution for laptop users, as it requires only a single cable for power, data, and video. And when you're done using the monitor, you can just unplug the cable and go. The controls are located at the bottom right corner, where there's a power button along with 4 other buttons to navigate the on-screen display. This isn't as intuitive as joystick controls that many gaming monitors have, but it should still be usable. Now onto the picture quality. Like most office-oriented monitors, the Dell UltraSharp uses an IPS panel, which allows the image to stay accurate when viewed at an angle. The horizontal viewing angles are great, which will work well sharing content with a friend or colleague. The vertical viewing angles are also impressive, so this monitor should maintain accuracy no matter where you sit or stand. This is great for office environments where you may be sharing your screen often. Another aspect of picture quality is the contrast ratio. Contrast is important for environments as it measures the perceived brightest and darkest parts of a scene. The higher the contrast ratio, the deeper the blacks will look. As expected with an IPS panel, the contrast ratio of the Dell UltraSharp is mediocre, so blacks will appear gray in a dark room. Although this will be less impactful in a bright office environment. Those looking for better contrast should look at monitors with VA panels. But it is a trade-off, as VA panels tend to have worse viewing angles. Also important for a dark room is the black uniformity. Black uniformity issues present themselves as brighter areas around dark scenes, which is commonly referred to as backlight bleed. The black uniformity of the Dell is decent, which is actually saying a lot for a monitor, as most tend to have rampant black uniformity issues. There is some backlight bleed at the bottom of the screen and slight blooming in the center. Along with its mediocre contrast ratio, this may not be the best option for enjoying content in the dark, but this won't be an issue in a brighter environment. Now onto peak brightness, which is important for any well-lit environment, such as an office. The SDR peak brightness is respectable, measuring at just over 300 nits. This will work fine in a moderately lit room, but those in a particularly bright environment may not find it ideal. The monitor can get even brighter while displaying HDR content. We measured a peak brightness of around 450 nits in most window sizes, but it seemed to struggle at the 2% window, where it measured at 220 nits. While the HDR peak brightness is a nice step up over its SDR performance, it's still not going to offer the experience that users may be accustomed to with TVs. The reflection handling is also important for a bright environment, as it works to counteract distracting glare from overhead lighting or sunlight. This monitor has mediocre reflection handling, so just like with the brightness, it'll work fine in most cases, but it's best to avoid having a bright light shine directly on the screen. Now let's take a look at the color accuracy. The UltraSharp comes factory calibrated by Dell, as long as you're in the sRGB color space mode, which is what we use for our measurements. The accuracy is decent, but it's not as good as their calibration report would suggest. The color and white balance are okay, but the color temperature is slightly too warm, and the gamma struggles to follow the target curve, making most scenes appear brighter than they should. After calibration, the color accuracy is exceptional. The The white balance, gamma, and color temperature are nearly perfect, but there are still some issues with the color blue, which is typical of LED backlit displays. You can find the ICC profile and calibration settings in the full review on the website, linked in the description below. Do note though, these settings are specific to our unit and should not be copied, as calibration varies between units. Now onto the color gamut. The SDR color gamut of the Dell UltraSharp is superb. It has full coverage of the sRGB color space, which is what most content is mastered for. It also covers about 83% of the Adobe RGB color space, so the reds and greens will appear rich and vibrant. Although professionals looking to master an Adobe RGB may want to look elsewhere. The monitor also supports HDR color gamuts reasonably well. It has pretty good coverage of the DCI-P3 color space at 82% and decent coverage of the Rec 2020 color space at about 67%. This means colors will look good when viewing HDR content, but they won't look as rich or saturated when compared to some higher-end TVs. Now let's look at the gradient performance, which is how finely different levels of color can be displayed. This is important when showing details in content such as shadows, the sky, or skin tones, and good gradient performance prevents color banding in these cases. This monitor uses a 10-bit panel and has outstanding gradient performance. There is still some slight banding in the dark greens and grays, but this shouldn't be noticeable with most content. Thanks to its high resolution and pixel density, the text clarity of the UltraSharp is fantastic. Text will appear clean and crisp, making it easy to read. This is great for office applications or for workflows that require having multiple windows open, and is a huge step up over traditional 1080p monitors. Now it's time to look at the motion performance and to see if this is a good pick for gaming. The refresh rate of the monitor is only 60 Hz, and unfortunately it lacks any variable refresh rate technology. So while it'll work perfectly fine for office use and productivity, its lack of high refresh rate and VRR will be disappointing for those who intend to use it for gaming. That said, it should still offer a fine experience for current gen consoles, especially those that can take advantage of the 4K resolution. Now onto the response time, which is the time it takes for a display to change pixels from one color to the next. A slow response time can result in a blurry trail behind fast-moving objects, so it's crucial to have good response times when viewing fast-paced content, like when gaming. The response time of this monitor is good, but it may not have the performance that gamers are looking for. You can adjust the response time via an overdrive setting in the OSD, and you can see how each one affects the motion blur in our full review. With overdrive set to normal, we measured an average response time of 6.7 milliseconds, with some overshoot in certain transitions. By changing the overdrive to fast, response time decreases to 4.5 milliseconds, but there's far too much overshoot for us to recommend this setting. Like most monitors, the Dell has low input lag, so it should feel nice and responsive when used with gaming consoles. We measured an input lag of 9.3 milliseconds, which is good for 60 Hz and shouldn't be noticeable in most cases. It maintains a low input lag even when sending a 10-bit HDR signal, which is great for HDR gaming. So overall, the Dell UltraSharp U2720Q is a good 4K monitor that supports HDR and comes with a wide variety of connectivity options. It has great viewing angles, excellent ergonomics, and a wide color gamut, although you may want to calibrate it before doing any professional work. It also has sharp text thanks to its high resolution, and its USB-C port makes it quite versatile, especially with laptop users. Its gaming prowess leaves a bit to be desired, but it should still work great for consoles that can take advantage of the high resolution and HDR. For office work and productivity, this is a good pick, but there are other options to consider. There's the Dell U2718Q, which is the predecessor to this model. They're quite similar in almost every aspect, except the older model has a slightly different design, doesn't have as wide of a color gamut, and lacks the added USB-C ports. So if the USB-C functionality isn't important to you, then you should go with whichever is cheaper. There's also the LG 27UK650W, which has faster response times and support for variable refresh rate. It also has slightly better gradient handling and color accuracy out of the box. On the other hand, the Dell has better build quality and ergonomics, a wider color gamut, and the extra USB-C options. They're both good picks, so whichever one is right for you will depend on what features you're looking for. So that's it. What do you think of the Dell UltraSharp? Are the features enough to win you over? Let us know in the comments. As always, you can check out all of the measurements on our website. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel or become an insider on our website for access to the latest measurements first. We're also growing and hiring in our offices in Montreal for various positions. So if you're interested in helping people find the best products for their needs, then check out the careers page on our website. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.